Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. Welcome back to my workshop. Today I'm going to be trying something very interesting and challenging, and that's to make a ring out of this steel right here. It looks pretty unassuming on its own, but this steel actually came from a friend, Ben. Shout out Ben if you're watching, who used to work for a company that manufactured nuclear reactor parts and was big in the nuclear industry. And essentially what had happened was they were practicing, you can see the weld seam there, they were practicing welding the metals that they used together, and obviously that left them with a load of leftover spare metal lying around that they had to get rid of. And Ben went, I know a crazy maniac person who could take that off your hand. And I went over and picked up a load of this steel, and obviously because it's meant to go inside a nuclear reactor, it's very high quality, very high grade. I think it's stainless steel. I have actually no idea what it is, but it hasn't tarnished, so that's what makes me think it's that. But essentially it's super hard. I've tried working with it before and it blunts every tool I touch. It's really difficult to drill, it's really hard to cut. So I thought it'd be awesome to make a ring out of it, especially considering it's the same type of stuff that they use in nuclear reactors. And just having a ring that you could say was destined for a nuclear reactor would be really cool. But yeah, obviously it's really difficult to cut, which is the main problem. So what I'm going to be using is the angle grinder. Could use the bandsaw, but I'm going to be using one of these, actually one of these diamond cutting discs. So obviously if you know much about material science, diamond's one of the hardest materials there is, so it'll probably cut through this, but it'll probably take ages to cut through it, and it'll be a right challenge. So what I'm going to use to protect myself from all the sparks and shards that will be flying everywhere with the angle grinder is I'm going to be using, this is probably overkill, but I'm going to be using this welding mask because I don't know what this steel is, and obviously there might be some crazy exotic metal if it's meant to go into a reactor. It could have loads of different compounds and metals embedded into it, and different exotic metals and stuff like that. And obviously if I'm cutting with the angle grinder and sparks are going everywhere, I don't really want those exotic crazy metals embedded into my skin or anything. So I'm going to be wearing this overkill welding mask to protect my face, so I don't risk any of that metal going inside me. And then I'll have to cut it into a rough square shape, and then I'll use the angle grinder to get it into as round a shape possible. Then I'll drill a hole through it, bolt it up with a bolt, and then put it on the lathe and cut it into a round shape for a ring. So this should be quite a challenge, but it'll definitely be interesting. So let's cue the music and get to it. had done. That took bloody ages to do. The metal is really tough. You've seen in the video, I had to use the angle grinder to cut it to a roughly circle shape and then put it on the lathe. Then it was so tough, the metal on the lathe, that it was actually cutting the tools rather than the tools cutting it, which is quite tricky to work around, but I've managed to do it in the end. And I think the results are pretty good. I think one problem I had was the heat from the angle grinder was causing the metal to work harden and get even tougher, so that made it more difficult, which might be a problem I have to try and work around if I ever make another one of these, but maybe I won't because it's so bloody hard. But yeah, and then at the end I did the flame anodization, which gave it, you can't really see on the camera, but it's given its really cool sort of chrome effect, which is like, you can see lots of different colours in it, like blues, greens, golds. It's really cool. And you can see it compared to the other ring on my finger, the two shall pass ring. It's a bit darker in colour overall. But yeah, I made it a little oversized because obviously it being such tough metal, if it ever got stuck on my finger, then I think hospitals or places like that might really struggle to cut it off. And that's one thing to know. If you ever get like stung or if you get an allergic reaction and you have rings on, the first thing you should do is take your rings off, because if your hand swells up, then they're going to have to cut them off for you. So yeah, that is a really difficult but challenging project, and eventually I managed to do it, and we had some success with it. So, and yeah, I couldn't stamp it with anything because again it's too hard, but I think that plain simplistic look and that vibrant colour gives it a really nice professional look. That's it. Yeah, good. Worked out really well.